Welcome back to episode 5 of InsideX. This episode is brought to you by Data Video for all your broadcast needs. Parts Canada, we support the sport. Rockstar Energy, get that new XD Thermo. For those guys are working out there, get that BCA's India. Royal Distributing, Hoosier Off-Road and Roos Factory, Cardo Systems, and Yamaha Motor Canada. This week's episode, we have Insider Trading. We look into this year's schedule. We dropped it last week. We're going to have a deeper look into that, some updates on COVID and what's going to look like for fans, amateur rider, WMX, premix classes. This week's Rockstar Energy recap. We're going to Sandalee with the fireworks that happened there with Mike Alessi and Phil Nicoletti. Check that out. Another Parts Canada prediction. This week we're going to look into 3 450 riders, Matt Gerke, Tyler Medaglia, and Sam Gaynor. Our guest interviews this week, Shawn Maffenbeier from the Rockstar OTSF camp, and Red Bull KTM team manager Jean-Sebastien. We'll talk to him about some amateur racing and up-and-coming things. We're going to jump to a quick commercial. We'll be back with more InsideX.
You've got the ride, and we've got the parts to keep you going. Royal Superstores, with massive selections of products, no matter what your power sport is. Top brands you've come to trust. Huge selection, amazing prices. Your one-stop shopping destination for the rider in you. Royal Distributing, Canada's power sports leader. Shop online, by phone, or in one of 4 retail locations. Fast coast-to-coast shipping right to your door. Royal Distributing. Eat, sleep, ride.
Welcome back to another edition of Insider Trading. I got my boy Ryan Gauld up in Barrie. We're going to talk about what we did last week. We just dipped into it a little bit, the new schedule, Gauldy, and a lot of questions came up once it hit social media, once it got out to the people. One thing right off the top, is this schedule set in stone?
Absolutely not. As you can tell, if you watch any sort of news channel or any sort of government website, nothing is set in stone right now. As of Monday there, May the 4th, there was a lot of reopening in a whole bunch of other provinces, some being stronger than others, like BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. Ontario's doing some reopening. Quebec, everybody's kind of taking their footsteps, but absolutely not. That schedule is not set in stone. It is a tentative one. We did forget the word in the post, silly us, but it is a tentative one, and the reason why it was laid out there in the majority of it is because it goes along with the dates we already had booked as far as teams and flights and travel and all that kind of stuff. So it was the way it goes from starting in the east right up to Walton. The only difference was with the Quebec round, because it has already been mandated that Quebec province, any events could not go till August 31st, and that is why that one sat at the end of the schedule, but absolutely not set in stone. We foresee changes coming because the way that the government's looking at this COVID situation.
Okay, well that makes sense, and I think a lot of people were concerned about that. Like, you know, there could be a chance that we go out west. It all depends on how this fluctuates, this COVID situation. A couple more questions I had, Gauldy, and it came from the WMX and the premix class. We're trying to fit those in the program as well as amateur. You know, touch on that a little bit. I know there was some concern about those classes.
Yeah, obviously right away, everybody looks at it, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, they're not thinking about us. Everybody at Triple Crown and MRC is thinking about every single rider, racer, team, staff member, and everything as we approach this situation. So amateurs, WMX, and premix all are going to be a part of the schedule, as long as when we get our mandated numbers or our mass gathering allowance, everything can fit into it. Obviously, we need amateurs. In Canada, we need amateurs because they help fund our weekends, help pay us our bills. The WMX, a very important part of our sport to have women racing and women at the track and supportive of the other sex there to be a part of racing. That's a huge supportive thing. And they would be on Saturday just like they would before. And of course the premix, that's a part of the show for sure. As long as we can have it and the mass gathering numbers allow us as we approach each month, then we're having it all. 100%, those are a part of our program. The reason why I didn't say it in the actual dates was just because we're trying to stipulate and showcase what our goal in mind is right now, and then we add things to it as we hear from each provincial government.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. I know that you dive right into all that stuff, and you always give us updates on the MRC side of things for each region, because each region's different. You know, talking to BC, they have tracks open there. Calgary, I just seen that they're going to open Wild Rose up and do just certain procedures to make sure it's safe for everybody, and obviously private tracks. And I think it's just good for everybody to get out. I know I've been out riding a bit, and it's just a good way to clear your head, keep that mental health strong, and you know, there's so many cases that around the world that it's very important to people to have that outlet to just clear their mind. And I know it helps me a lot. You know, you're dealing with so much stuff and the stress of this whole situation, Gauldy, that it's just nice to get out on the bike and ride. And I know you've been in the same situation where you've been out riding with the kids.
Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean? Like, it is almost the only thing we can do right now that is accessible. I have a little private track down the road that I actually was able to build something for my kids, and then I can ride there as well. Not doing much traveling, not going far away places, going into different regions or even just different municipalities, trying to stay close to home and doing, you know, our due diligence against the fight of COVID-19. But saying about the tracks being open out west and so that, 100%. BC has a rule of up to 50 people at a track right now. Awesome. We cannot hold an event in BC with 50 people or under. But for the tracks that can open, that's amazing. So great to see those places playing by the rules, following the guidelines, and 50 people. In Ontario, it's 5. Okay, so our tracks can't open. We just saw, like you said, Wild Rose going to open up on May 14th. I talked to them today about that. They're going to be having 15 people at the max and 2-hour sessions. You got to have rent it. They're going to stay tuned for the information on that one. But, of course, you're going to follow the guidelines. Probably parking away from each other, hand sanitizer, maybe some mask stuff. It's going to be same guidelines or very similar stuff to what's going to happen to when the golf courses can reopen. And as of right now, no golf courses are allowed to reopen across the nation. But it is coming, and I feel like motocross will be a part of that as far as just opening the doors at the tracks.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. I'm hoping that it comes through soon, and it'll just be to practice at first, and hopefully it opens up to racing, you know, come July when the schedule opens up. And just the last thing that I want to talk about, there's been some rumors, no fans. I know that they're trying to do that stuff in the U.S. Right now, we're fully planning on having fans at the races, and I think that's very important and crucial for our sport to have those fans support the sport and be at the race there. We're going to jump to commercial, Gauldy. We're going to come back with a Rockstar Energy recap.
All right, Kyle, welcome back. Here it is time for the Rockstar Energy Recap 250 Pro Moto number 2 at Sandali Round 5, Ottawa, Ontario last year. Another scorcher of heat, just like last weekend in Gopher Dunes. This one here reached up about 110 as far as that goes, or like 45 in our numbers there, Kyle. Right off the gate there, second moto, Tanner Ward grabbing that RoadDistributing.com whole shot with his teammate side by side, Christophe Fortier as well. This is where we thought we were going to see some explosiveness out of Tanner Ward. It kind of went the opposite direction, as we're going to see as we watch this highlight.
Yeah, so Tanner Ward jumps out. Lots of hole shots last year for the number 4 team machine. Look at Pettis already getting around. And talking about the heat, this is a shortened moto. They shortened it 3 minutes. The MRC officials shortened it 3 minutes just to make it a little safer for these riders because it was a scorcher there. And look at Dylan Wright already making that charge up the leaderboard.
Well, that actually came down from a provincial mandate, almost like we were dealing. What a pass there by Osby. I'm getting into some rules here, but in the Ontario sector there, we were getting like a highlighted thing by saying, you know, workers shouldn't be doing 8-hour days. They need more breaks and stuff like that. Well, these are all our workers. We were taking a safe. Good job on Paul Kingsley and Daryl Murphy on that one. But Tanner Ward was getting bossed around. There's Dylan Wright sliding by right now. And Dylan Wright was on the move. First moto, domination, start to finish there. Did a great job coming through. And Osby put up such a great fight. He was really impressive to watch this moto. Tanner Ward once again now getting swallowed up by another rider. Here comes Luke Rensland.
Yeah, now watching the footage here, it doesn't look like it's hot at all. These guys are zooming around the track. Unreal speed. Late second moto, too. It gets super choppy there, and the conditions get real rough for these guys. But look at that. Rensland trying to get his way around, and he's going to make that move. Not quite there, but Rensland, he had a great ride. First moto, he got a second. He's coming around trying to make up some time and get to that leaderboard, get that podium.
I like the word zoom. I feel like we're talking to our kids right there, bringing back some kids stuff. Going zooming by right there, Dylan Wright. And it was funny to watch Dylan Wright all year long. Like he could start anywhere you wanted. And obviously this track here, you knew he was going to have an advantage. He grew up racing. You're looking, there's Renzo now making that pass on Osby, getting himself back up into podium contention. And he really drove it in there too. He wasn't just letting him have it there. But Pettis up front looked comfy, was riding well. He just kind of, I just don't think had that strength that Dylan Wright was carrying through. And back to Dylan, man, he was able to do anything at any time, anywhere, making passes. You can see there's got about a 4 or 5 second gap. Boom, the highlight reel catches up, and here comes Dylan Wright right now. Watch his pass, Cal, set it up.
Yeah, he reeled him in so quick, and I think it caught Pettis off guard. This outside line that Pettis has been working just didn't work out for him. Dylan Wright just too strong right up that inside and just closed the door.
Yeah, man, he really knew this place. I mean, this track has changed so much over the years, and there's a good shot of Welton making the pass on Medag. Welton, DNF in Moto number 1 with a bike problem. Comes back here, does a little better, but Tyler Medaglia, not the man that we have seen at Sand Del over the years, had a real rough day right there. 5-6. I want to say that could be the worst finish of his career at Sand Del. Dylan Wright won 1. Pettis, Renslin, there's your podium. 250 recap there. Another great day, but Dylan Wright, the man of the hour, Hal.
Yeah, no, touching on Tyler Medaglia, he had that crash in the first moto there, but yeah, it was a tough day for him, and man, Dylan Wright was just too good in those conditions, Sand Del, and that track looked awesome for that. We're going to jump into the 450 moto here, Gauldy.
All right, Cal, you're right. It's time for the Rockstar Energy Recap, the 450, the big dogs. Moto number 1, Colton Fasciotti, right up the inside, the favored gate here at Sand Del, but we'll find something that doesn't make sense in that Moto number 2, and even in Moto number 1, because Josh Cartwright actually gets it on the Team PRMX Kawasaki. RoyalStribbling.com, whole shot.
Yeah, Josh Cartwright, that PRMX Kawasaki jumping out there. This is the first race for him last year in the 2019 season. It was good to see another American in the mix. But look at this, Phil Nicoletti with those red plates on that Yamaha. And things were looking good early on, but this little incident right here, a little collision between him and Matt Gerke cost Nicoletti the moto. He would get going, and he would fix that rad there, but it was too little too late for the number 54.
That right there was the incident of the day that set the tone for him right there. He wasn't able to get himself up, gets back in the race. They clean up the bike. Actually, they changed the full rad in the mechanics area for him to get back in the bike. Unfortunately, getting no points. Gerke there smashing the handguard down to get himself back going, but Fasciotti pulling away. Alessi sitting second. Gerke now in the third. And then we got Moff here. The quiet Maffenbeier here. Had a great day here at Stanley. Man, he was really finding his groove on the Rockstar Energy OTSF Yamaha, man, and it was great to see.
Yeah, taking advantage of the two guys going down. He put himself in a nice little spot there early on, and obviously Michael Alessi coming up behind. He was charging all day, and after that 1-1 performance in the heat of Gopher Dunes, he was ready for another day in the hot sun with that white gear on there.
All right, yeah, there's Alessi, but look at this. He's got a rear view mirror full of Maffenbeier. Now, this is quite interesting to see because all year long, Maffenbeier was not sniffing around Alessi at all, but man, he really dogged him in the later stages of Moto number 1 here. Nearly made that pass on Alessi right there to push him back, and you could kind of see Alessi looked like he was laboring all day long, and if you remember after the moto here up by the podium, you could see all those crazy blisters he had on his hand right there. For him to even hang on was quite spectacular, but this moto right here I think was the one that gave Colton Fassi the championship. He was so smooth, so smart, got himself up front, just dominated, and let the rest of the boys battle on behind it, and he saw all the carnage, and this is really where everything kind of played into his favor once the gate drops there in Moto number 2. Matt Gerke here running along here, doing a great job sitting in 4th.
Yeah, sitting in 4th, but obviously a misfortune there, hitting Nicoletti, and that's 3 motos in a row. He must be just scratching his head. We've seen in Gopher Dunes 2 issues there, and then this moto hitting Nicoletti. He is due for some good luck. We might see that in the second moto, but this guy was so smooth, so fast all day on that number 1, and like you said, really solidifying that points lead. Obviously, Nicoletti going into pit row there to switch out that rad didn't help things, but Fasciotti taking that first moto win.
I feel like he could tell the future at this rate. He took the checkers. He's like, I feel like something's about to happen. I think something's going to happen in Moto 2, and they're just going to hand me the red plate for the rest of the year as Alessi getting over there in second spot. Another great ride by Mike with those real beat-up hands there. And third, a full-on earned third in that moto for Maffenbeier right there, which is awesome. See, this photo right here is basically a picturesque lead to Moto number 2. I was kind of looking where Gaynor was, the number 80. He was right beside the box, and the sort of quasi-teammate of the Rockstar Energy OTSF ride right there, and grabs himself out early on hole shot. But your bro, KTM Factory Red Bull 4 racing rider Cole Thompson, he gets out of the lead and makes that pass right away. And he was looking to get away, but man, Gerke did not let it happen.
No, Gerke is so good in this sandy stuff, and especially Sandy. It's got a little bit of a hard surface to it. Cole, not really in contention for any overall. He's 7th in that first moto and sitting first right here. But, man, look at how fast and look how good number 2 machine can switch up lines, really take those rough lines around the outside. Awesome to see that guy riding, and hopefully he can get through this moto with no issues as we've seen in the last 3 motos.
Yeah, here he takes that lead, and he would actually not relinquish it for the rest of the moto right there on that Monster Energy Alpine Star Pillars Kawasaki, the Bondi engine powered by that factory KTM. But the man of the hour right here, Phil Nicoletti, got 35th, I believe, after that, or maybe no, 27th, whatever it was, way back, starts way on the outside. He just starts picking guys off. He was so fast, and as we have seen at every single round this year, outside lines, Kyle, the guy makes them work.
Yeah, he's a Villapoto of Canada. He's just all around the outside, just keeping it pinned, and he's trying to get around his teammate right here. And great riding by Shawn, and we're going to have him later on the show. But good to see him starting to get his stuff together. Obviously, he dealt with some issues later on in the season, but he was starting to get things to go together there. And look at this little battle. Cole Thompson and Mike Alessi there battling for that second spot. Mike making that pass.
Yeah, you might have to give a little more insight on Cole on that day right here. It's not often you see Cole get himself into that lead, and then I don't think he faded. I just think that, I believe it was the herniated discs or whatever that was from Gopher, might have bit him in the butt. But look at Nicoletti again, just bossing the red plate of the champ right around there. No problem at all. And then look at this, around your brother as if he's a lapper, man. Phil was on the move out here. No, nothing against Cole on that one, but man, that was a good pass.
That was a great pass. It looked like he just came off the track and just sent it into those rollers. He was so fast there. And this is where things got interesting. Nicoletti trying to set up Alessi for that second in this moto. Here's where it gets ugly, Gauldy.
Wow, it was a direct T-bone right there for sure. Now, we got the rest. They all saw this. They looked at that. As they say in racing, sometimes the tough get going, right? That's how it is. That right there for sure is what fueled that fire. The red plate started cursing up into the goggles and eyes of Phil Nicoletti, and the rage began, and that was the incident that kicked it off right there. As we see Fasciotti now trying to put it in a move on. And look at Cole, the bike just bouncing around there. Fasciotti sticking to the ground a little bit. And and as you see right here, Alessi eventually lets Nicoletti by. He knows that he upset the wrong character on that one. And we don't put the highlight reel from the podium in after this. But Fasciotti with a 1-2, Matt Gerke 4-1, Maffenbeier 3-4, great day. Cartwright 5-5 for 6. He gets the Phil Nicoletti award on that one, just like a Calgary with a 2-2, getting third. But I want to touch base here. After this race, there was that big incident, obviously, with Phil and Mike Alessi. It took the win away from Matt Gerke on this one because the dockings came down and the fines, everything handed in. We have now upgraded our rule book by saying if this happened like that after the checkered flag, you cannot lose positions on the track. So therefore, Matt Gerke would have won that overall, but still a great ride. Good job, Matt, and 4-1 on the day. But Fasciotti, this is where he leaves and basically says goodbye and brings home number 6 time.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of the end for the rest of the riders. Obviously, Alessi makes a nice charge, but this day would mark the day that Alessi kind of just put the nail in his own coffin, really. And, man, it was tough. Yeah, like you said, Matt Gerke, tough go for him going 4-1. It would have tied Colton's 1-4, but obviously the docking with Alessi and Nicoletti gave Colton Fasciotti the nod. But we're going to jump to commercial, Gauldy. We'll be back with more Inside X. We're back with another Parts Canada prediction. This week, Gauldy, we're going to take a part 2 look at the 450 guys. I know we talked about the 4 big dogs that have won the Triple Crown, Nicoletti, Thompson, Wright, and Maffenbeier. This week, I want to talk about 2 Cali riders that have a chance to win this. Tyler Medaglia, the 2-time champion, Matt Gerke, 3-time champion, and the sophomore kid, the rookie of the year last year, Sam Gaynor. Right off the top, though, the number 5, Tyler Medaglia. What are your thoughts going into this year? He's back on the 450. What's he going to do? Is this going to be a good year for him? Obviously, starting in the sand, that's got to be strong for him and his riding.
Yeah, well, if anybody knows me, they know I'm a fan of Tyler. We share the same birthday, February 4th, the day that, heroes are made. Heroes are born. Okay, we'll start off with that. And, man, I've always had his back. I've always had Tyler. I like the way he fights. He charges his body position, his bike artwork, everything that he does, and technique and stuff like that. He's got it all. He's aces. The things that sometimes bite him in the butt, I think, is later in the motos when it looks like guys are maybe getting stronger. It looks like he's getting weaker, but I think his mind is always just kind of wandering. His dad has always shared that he's the one that can never focus, where Jeremy, his brother, was the one that could always focus real good. And I feel like that was always what bit him. But experience keeps playing a good role with Tyler as he gets older and kind of gets better as a fine wine. Last year, I want to erase it. Yes, he did get a win in Arena Cross. He did get a win in Supercross. But I want to erase it. I think that we thought it was going to be a good idea, but we erase that. We go back to the 450. Tyler is now an instant championship contender right out of the gate. If we start in the sand and go for dunes, he's going to be a contender there. We saw him win there 2 years ago on that big 450. So Tyler Medaglia moving up. A great thing for the team. A great thing for Parts Canada. Big sponsor of his and has been for a real long time. And I see big things out of Tyler once we get back to the gate drops, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that the whole 250 thing was more of a team player. Cowie needed that 250 rider. They just didn't have anybody they were comfortable signing at the time. And Tyler did the whole, hey, I'll put the team on my back. I will ride that 250 if I have to. And he did. And you know what? If it wasn't for some untimely crashes and some bad starts, I think we would have seen a different Tyler and maybe I don't think he would have been beating Dylan Wright for that championship, but I think he would have been nipping at his heels a little bit more than we seen last year. Now, jumping over to his teammate, Matt Gerke, we've seen three-time champion. We just seen him, in the Rockstar recap, have that overall taken away from him at Sandali. What are your thoughts for Matt? Obviously, a sand specialist. This has got to be huge for him starting in the East.
Well, I know for sure Matt blames you for that getting taken away last year, Kyle. I just want to share that on InsideX. that was completely your fault and your call. That's what I told everybody. But I guess my only question with Matt is he going to be healthy? Obviously, we have a nice long break before we're supposed to go racing. We were supposed to be racing here and getting Arena Cross going already. But can he be healthy once we get back to racing? We see his Instagram. He's riding already. So he's had lots of time to recover. He's got bikes down there. I believe I saw that they might be doing some training and testing out at Millsap's training facility down in Georgia. So they're focused on moving forward. And we know Matt is one of the toughest SOBs on the track, on the bike, a three-time Canadian 450 champion. He knows how to win. And I truly believe he doesn't know anything else other than racing. So his mind's going to be ready. My question is the body. His body's been beat up. He's had lots of injuries. This last one with the back was a big one. It's just a questionable is if he can move past it in his mind and then put his skill set down and back on the track like we know he can. So I got to see him ride at a race first before I can make a true prediction on Matt Gerke. I mean, I know his heart's there, skill set there, the bike is good, Parts Canada sponsor and all that good stuff. But I got to see him race right now. I just got to see if his mind is still where it at is when he was with Champion.
And I got to say, like I said, he's a great rider, and I'm a huge fan of Matt Gerke. And his sand skills have got to be on world-class level. I love watching him at Go for Dunes. Obviously won many times there. The last 2 times he's been there, though, the bad luck bug has bit him. So it'll be interesting if he can get through Go for Dunes and set his, this year up, the 2020 season up for a good one. Because if he gets through there with a 1-1 like we know he's capable of, it's scary for the rest of the competition.
Big time, big time.
Last on my list here is Sam Gaynor. Rookie of the year last year, finished out in the top 10 in the 450 class. Where do you see him? Obviously, I believe he has stepped up his program with the OTSF boys. I think that he's got another higher, a pay cut or whatever he is. He's stepped up and he's got the real bikes this year. He's not riding his own machines. Is this going to be a better year for Sam Gaynor?
Well, there was actually a point in time there where Gaynor might have been making a switch to another brand. There were some offers coming out there but he was super true to his roots through the Motor Park Academy, kind of helping him get into the OTSF Rockstar team, then filling in for Shawn last year when he got hurt, and he belongs onto that tent. The kid is easily one of the hardest working, most heart-driven riders on the track. Talent-wise, he's not that high up there. He doesn't have all the talent like a Fasciotti or a Dylan Wright kind of thing like that, but he works hard, he's tenacious, and he knows what he wants. Another year in that 450 class is going to be nothing but good stuff for him there, and he's just, I think the only thing that he'll need to make sure that he can do, he'll have the equipment, he'll have the sponsors, the support, all that good stuff. He's got to believe that he can race with his teammates, Shawn Maffenbeier, Phil Nicoletti. He's got 2 guys that are top 5 quality, champions in their own right beside him. He has to be within the lap times in qualifying, lap times at the track, Everything has to be along the lines of what those guys are doing. So therefore, when he's out on the track, he's either battling them or Madags or Gurkey or all those other riders we're talking about, Dylan Wright. Because if you don't believe you can belong with those guys, you're just going to be another 6 to 10 place guy, kind of, as I like to call them, filling the gate, taking points, and not belonging in that championship run. Sam will not be part of the championship, but there's no doubt in my mind, if he believes it and puts that work ethic in, but he can get some top 5s this year and really impress for a team for 2021 to be like, okay, I'm going to throw some money and some extra stuff at this kid and maybe take him away because I like what I see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He needs to make that step from that 6 to 10, like you're talking about, into that 3 to 5 position. Even if it's briefly, if it's a couple times, this year, but he needs to make that step. So, potential teams will be like, hey, I want to invest in the newly career number 28. I want to get some investment in him and get him and bring him up in our program. So that's the 3 riders I wanted to break down this week in the Parts Canada prediction. We're going to go back to the 250 class next week, Gauldy. But, man, I appreciate your input on that. And we're going to jump to a quick commercial. We'll be back with more InsideX.
There's nothing like race time. Something that's super undescribable. Nothing gives me that same adrenaline rush. It's all or nothing. Your heart starts beating faster.
A lot of nerves.
For me, I still get nervous.
The adrenaline.
You feel focused. Everything else goes away. You're in the moment. I think that's the feeling that we live for. One goal, one vision.
All right, we're back with another interview. We got Shawn Maffenbeier out in Kamloops, BC, the Rockstar Energy Yamaha OTSF rider. Shawn, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, we are good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. Last time we tried to get you on, you were traveling through the U.S., the long haul from Club MX. Man, that's a journey.
Yeah, you want to talk about a couple-day drive. You got a lot of time to think about some things, and just with this crazy world right now, it was a crazy drive for sure.
Yeah, now you were driving as like the pandemic was kind of just getting kicked off here. Was there like areas where it was a little bit eerie kind of feeling in the U.S., or was it kind of business as usual?
It was actually pretty wild because obviously I drove from the East Coast right to the West Coast in America, and so like you would go through all these different states and experience different things. So Georgia was on like a complete lockdown, and then as I got up into like South Dakota and those places, it was kind of like nothing was really going on, and so just like the way the different people were reacting to it, and just even getting fuel, some places you couldn't even go into. And then as you got to the northern states, people wanted to chat to you, and so just a wild experience to drive across the country in 3 days and just to see how the different people were reacting to the whole pandemic.
Yeah, and it's wild to see like some people in some areas are so laid back, and then in Canada I feel like we're very strong that way. We're all united on the way we're going to approach this, and the U.S. is all up in arms. But anyways, what are you doing now that there's quarantine? Have you been able to ride and keep up on the riding, or has it just been working out?
Yeah, we're lucky enough here. The Kamloops track and the BC government has put in place a deal where you can have 15 people max at this facility here. So they put together a really cool program where they have 2-hour sessions 3 times a day, 5 days a week.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And you got to book in your session, and you pay for everything beforehand. They have parking places with sticks on them, so you know where to park once you come in. So there's very little contact between each other, but the guys here are doing a great job on the track, and it's lucky enough for me. I had to leave the U.S., but I'm able to come home here to Kamloops to a decent track, and the guys are doing a good job, and I'm still able to ride. So I know a lot of people in other parts of the country aren't able to do that. So luckily for me. Yeah,
no kidding. And there's only so many tracks that are even open. Most of them are just private tracks, so you kind of have to know somebody. And what a national caliber track you have close to home. That's awesome. And it's cool to see them just adjust just so the riders can keep going and have those like windows, so it's not just the same 15 guys that take up all the slots. So that's cool to hear. And I heard Wild Rose was doing something similar to that. They're opening up soon here in May. I just wanted to jump back a little bit, just talking about growing up. You grew up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. What was your amateur career like? When did you get started?
Yeah, obviously a little different from where I live now, but Swift Current, Saskatchewan, where I was born and raised, and started riding when I was 3. And honestly, you know, the family and I we just did it as fun. Went out, you know, pretty much every summer since I was 3 and raced. But we didn't take it overly serious until I was, you know, 14, 15, and just spent a lot of time at the lake. And my dad always kind of just put good morals into the racing side of things. You know, if I had a bad race, he always made sure that I, you know, shook the guy's hand, you know, that had a good race. And you know, when I had a good race, you know, make sure you go talk to that kid that had a bad race, and you know, just kind of that competitive atmosphere. So grew up, had lots of really close friends on the amateur side, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And more importantly, my family just kept it so light, and honestly, it was more my decision to kind of make it more serious. So they supported me, you know, the whole way through, and here we are today.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, I didn't get to see any of your early years. The first time I actually heard of Shawn Maffenbeier was when you were number 6 on a 450. So you've already put in some time, because in the window of when I stopped racing pro and kind of stepped away from this stuff, you were busy doing the climb to the top. And I remember you were on a Yamaha. I forget what shop you were riding for, but number 6 was a huge accomplishment, jumping the 450 class. You know, what was that first couple pro years transition like? Because obviously you made it quick there.
Yeah, it was really tough. I actually remember I didn't try, but throughout Saskatchewan, I was one of the faster junior riders and intermediate riders. And just with the lack of people in Saskatchewan, you know, you climb through those ranks so quickly. So I was actually too young to turn pro in Saskatchewan at the time. But obviously that gap to pro nationally was so big. But so I turned pro really young at 14, and went to my first national in Calgary, and I think it was 2006, maybe 2007. And I remember I got whooped. I barely made it in. I was still in yet race to qualify, so I barely made it in. And actually, I used the national circuit more as a place to learn. You know, Saskatchewan offered me great racing throughout my amateur career, but, you know, we didn't have enough money and stuff to go to Walton or other big events. So we kind of took it upon ourselves just to, you know, chase nationals and kind of grow up through the nationals as a pro guy. So, you know, that's kind of what I did. I remember, you know, my first national number was 85, and then, you know, it was just a steady decline of numbers until that number 6. So it was pretty cool to accomplish that, and I accomplished it actually with my dad by my side the whole time. So that was another really cool thing.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Now you have the big number 3 on your bike. That you'll retire with that number, which is awesome, and it's cool to see. I love that number in racing. I think it's such a legendary number. So it's cool that you're running that. But yeah, like when I started, and I seen you at number 6, and then I seen you, you know, through the 250. You went back to the 250 class, and it seemed like you obviously rode for Rockstar OTSF years ago, and it was like every other year or every year it seemed like you started switching bikes, trying to find that right mix. And now I feel like now that you're back on the 450, I think this is a good program for you. But what was it like trying to, like, you went from obviously the Redemption, you had the Rockstar team, Redemption, and then into MX101, Kawasaki, now Yamaha. Was that tough each year trying to learn a new setup?
Totally. It was really tough. One thing you learn through that whole process is how to deal with people. So, you know, every year I would have to deal with new mechanics and new team managers and team owners. And so you really get to know, you know, the different sides of the industry between sponsors and bike manufacturers and all that stuff. And honestly, you know, looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. I learned a ton from it. I learned, you know, so much about so many people, and good and bad, you know what I mean? But it's a crazy journey. I always kind of stood up for what and if, you know, they didn't completely agree with me, then, you know, I would always try to convince people or a team to, you know, make the right decisions, you know, to better myself. And sometimes it's never worked out, but that's okay. You know, we always left on good notes. I never wanted to burn any bridges going from manufacturer to manufacturer. And like you said, I ended up kind of, you know, where I started Yamaha team. So
Perfect.
I'm happy back with these guys and can't thank them enough for helping me kind of grow into my 450 career.
Yeah, and that's it seems like you know it was a good fit for you when you first were there, and obviously you went away for a few years, but you had a good little stint with them on the 252 stroke. So you know, full circle, and that's, you know, the whole reason you didn't burn that bridge in the first place. You went on and did a couple other things, learned some stuff, and they welcome you back, and now you're on the premier class 450 ride, which, you know, people can only dream of. Obviously, you know, talking about you now, I didn't know much about your amateur career, but it sounds like you went through some hard way to get there, and you weren't the prodigy like a lot of kids are these days that come up and get the ride handed to them. So man, that's a lot of good work put into it. I would like to get you back on once we get going racing here. But one thing I wanted to ask you, what kind of predictions you have for yourself this year? Where do you put yourself once that gate drops in National Series?
I'm hoping to be in that top 3. You know, I listened into a couple episodes you guys did, and honestly, you guys were right. I had a couple crashes here at the beginning of the season, so. You know, one positive thing about all this COVID stuff for me is it's given me just a little bit more time to prepare and let the body kind of come back. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the schedule. You guys built that 2-day format is a lot like the Destinations kind of schedule. So I'm kind of familiar how that's going to feel. And honestly, yeah, I've kind of made changes to better a lot of parts of my program. That first year on the 450, there's a ton of learning. Ton of experience gained, and I think moving forward from there, I'm expecting myself in that top 3.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think you were on the right path when you went to PG. Had a great race. Sandali had another great race, and I think that momentum was building. A couple you know, untimely injuries, it always sets you back, and the confidence gets shattered. But now that you've had time to heal, get ready, I think this is going to be a good year for you, Shawn. I'm excited, and I'm a fan. After winning your championship the hard way, man, you battled hard for 2 years to get that one, and man, you're a champion, and you went on to win the Triple Crown in 2018. So. Definitely a fan of the number 3. One last question, man, and I know you're a fan of the rock stars. I got my XD right here. What are you sipping on right now?
There you go.
Oh, yeah, there we go, bud.
Raz.
Oh, the Blue Raz as well. Blue Raz, nice. Good stuff. All right, bud. Good seeing you. We'll catch up once the season starts, and we'll get some race reviews from you. All right, buddy. Have a good day. Welcome back to another edition of interviews here with I got a special guest here, the 5-time champ KTM Red Bull team manager Jean-Sebastien. JSR, good to have you, buddy. How you been?
Been all right. Been pretty quiet here at home.
Yeah. Any
but busy with some little projects around the house, but quiet on the motocross side for sure.
I know. I actually talked to you a couple weeks ago. I think you were working on some of your properties there, maybe do some painting. Just a different outfit than you normally wear to work. So, you know, just catching up on stuff that you have to do around the house and whatnot. So good to hear. But as long as you're staying safe, and, you know, just before the show, you're talking about going mountain biking with your son. So staying busy with the family too.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's, I mean, the good side of it, it's a good quality time with the kid and with the family, and fixing a few things around the house and some of my apartment, and just fixing a pressure washer that I had in the backyard, and just fixing that's what I've been doing lately. So like I said, stay busy and staying busy with the kids and building some jumps and ramps for my kids. Everybody's on mountain bikes these days around the house, where we got a skate park around the house here, so
perfect.
A few little options for these guys to have fun and kill times.
Yeah, and now your son, he was riding a 50, I think last time I seen him. Has he moved up to the 65 now?
Yeah, he's got a 65, but I think it's a bit of a machine for him. He's a little he's not too anxious to go ride. Let's say he loves his 50. He had a blast on those little S50s, and he won some races, and then got him a 65, and kind of let him go on his own with that, and I think he's scared of himself, and he's a little nervous now to get on it. But tomorrow is supposed to go right. He told me he's got a brand new pair of boots, he's got a new pair of gloves, so he's all pumped. So I think tomorrow's the day he's gonna get back on it for the first time this year. But
there you go.
Yeah, so
no, that's good. What about now? You guys recently, obviously, you dealing with KTM and Husky, recently released the electric bike. Is that something? Has your son tried it, or anybody you know tried it? Is it very comparable to the 50s that you have out, the actual two-stroke 50s?
It's different. I didn't have a chance to actually. I rode one in the backyard, in the back of the shop at KTM a while ago. Actually, Cole did a few ride with it as well, and my son is not too old, too tall to get one. And of course, I wish they came out with this bike 2-3 years ago. My son was still on 50 because to me, it's for that class, it's the way to go to the bike. It's, everybody knows those 50s, whatever brand they are, they're a little hard to start sometimes. They're very picky. So the electric one, it's a no-brainer. You just charge the battery and go. So for the kid that rides the e-bike, it's much easier. The bike is more predictable, or it's quite smooth. And I had some comments like there's a few guys that I know that bought one, and some of the comment that came back, it's like, hey, my wife can go with my kid to the track, and she doesn't have to fight with the bike to start it, because that was an issue, She doesn't start the motor one, like the gas one. You have a bit of a process to make it start. So now with electric, it's super easy. There's no starting button or anything like that. So that's a positive thing. And power wise, the guy that I've seen on the track, Zep, one of the kid in BC, he's riding one and he's flying with it. So I think it's a pretty positive thing for our sport in that class that the company came out with the KTM and Husky electric bikes. So they're not cheap, but they're maintenance free, to just plug in.
And I seen actually Lockhart's son is on one of those out west, and man, it's awesome to see, because there's like literally no noise. You can talk to each other when you're riding, give them tips and stuff like that. But
exactly, and Ryan was one of the guys that I talked quite a bit with, because he was one of the first one to get one. And he brought up the comment about his wife going to the track, and she didn't know. She enjoyed because she can help the kid now instead of try to kick those bikes to make it start. So
that's
different.
That is a good feature, especially for the wives or whatever taking the kids. Obviously, like a lot of husbands have to work, and the wives end up being the ones to take the kids. So, and I know that's always a big issue. Starting those things are a pain in the butt. But on the amateur side of things, and I know you're actually dealing with you deal with a lot of riders in the amateur side of things. You've seen like a Ryder McNabb, a Jacob Piccolo. We've seen Tanner Ward go through your system, and now Sebastian Racine. Is that like, how would a rider, coming up through 50s, 60s, get on a radar for KTM or your radar going forward? What's something they could do?
I think, it's a racing sport, so result talk, that's for sure. And but we try to, myself and the KTM group marketing and Matthew that work with me, we're trying to go above. The result will be the main focus. So the kid who come on our program, the Orange for sure. It's a tough sport. The results are super important. We want a kid that actually win and particularly destroys classes from the 50 to the 60 and the 85, and we look a lot at it's a great program for those guys, but at the same time it's a family package that we want to offer the family when they get to that level, when we pick up Tanner and Piccolo, like the family get to a point where they need a bit of care, they need a bit of help. So they've been on the KTM product for years and years. They're already orange. They already have orange blood. They already know the brand. They believe in our brand, and so it's easier for us to continue that program with a type of family that's been leading orange for a long time. So usually the kids that wins on 50 or 65 on KTM move on 85 and wins the young age, and they kind of move up, and then we pick them up. Wish we can help more of those kids. There's a lot of top kids and family that are doing great for the brand and for the sport. But for now, we're sticking with a smaller number of amateurs. But results for sure, image on and off the track, and the family being orange, KTM orange for a long time. So that's what we're trying to keep helping these guys to that stage in their life.
No, that's perfect. Loyalty goes a long way, and especially in motocross. You know, the people, you see the guys that have the flourished career into the pro class, they usually make relationships when they're young, and they stick with those brands. You know, they're not hopping around to the next coolest or better thing. They stick behind the brands that they work with. And nowadays, you know, when you grew up in the amateur scene or through your pro, you know, you didn't see much of what was going on in your career unless you got, you know, Speed Channel or ESPN. You would see you racing that. But nowadays, everybody can kind of keep up with, you know, team managers can keep up with their riders through social media. How important is that to you, finding that next rider and their social media presence?
For sure, the social media, it's quite important. It goes with, you know, like I said, it's a package. You know, we want to have the kid that does well on the track. Off the track, it's, of course, off the track, it's, you know, at the track racing, while like when you talk to the kid, we want to make sure that the kid, you know, he's got thing going. Of course, social media is important too, that, you know, those guys are on it, but or the parents, of course, at that age, at a younger age, most of the kids, their parents kind of overview their social media up to a certain age, of course. But I think loyalty, you mentioned loyalty, it's something, especially to me, it's super important in that sport as well. So, you know, of course, we respect guys that are sticking to our brand, and our guy that stick with the same gear sponsor for a long time, or same, you know. So I think it's a big overall package that these guys need to understand. It's not only results like it used to be, let's say, when you were racing, or a few years back, where it was no social media. So it is important to, I mean, the image is very important, of course, though. And the company, I'm between the company and the rider. I'm the one who's spending, not spending, but giving the contingency, the parts, the money, and the company wants to make sure that the guys or the family represent well the brand. It's KTM. You hear often, you know, the ready to race, and the loyalty to the company, and the image. You know, we always bring back image. KTM is our image. We want to make sure the image is right. So our boss, my management is very, very, I would say, picky and very strict on our brand, our color, the way we address, the way we talk to the way we look off the track, let's say. So we have the same thing for the rider. We're really looking at kids that are, you know, very, you know, spoken, and the school is important. The parents, it's a big package. So we have choices, a lot of fast guys, and we want to pick the right one for the brand. Yeah,
and that's a big thing, and I know we deal with each other a lot, and I see at the races you work with my brother Cole, and obviously Jess Pettis, and many fast guys there, but you're also on the ground level dealing with the amateurs, and I think that's important, the information you just gave us here about amateur racing, because a lot of parents don't know how to take it and where to take it with their kids, you know, how to push, where to push. So I appreciate you coming on here. We're going to have to get you on for a longer interview to get talk about your past career, because I'd love to hear, and I think a lot of fans would like to hear where you came from, how you made that transition from U.S. into the Canadian champion you are. But for now, I just wanted to touch on that amateur side of thing, and I think it's very important for these kids to know the info from the top, you know, the KTM head. And we appreciate you coming on, JS, and we'll have to get some of your riders on as well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and anytime, guys, that we can connect, and got 20 years of racing behind me, so we can talk for a long time and bring back some stories. But it's awesome that you guys do that. Keep the fans, keep the sport going into this tough time with those online interview and show. So good job for you guys. So anytime you can reach me and take the time to talk some more.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks a lot, and have a good one. Stay safe. And there you have it, Gauldy. Another episode in the books. Episode 5, that was a good one. Obviously talking to JSR, Shawn Maffenbeier, that was great. You know, what are your thoughts on this episode?
I love it. I mean, I'm so stoked that we can get those guys on there, and such kind of a great perspective between JSR, 5-time Canadian champion, and now working in the industry, and then Shawn Maffenbeier kind of getting his feet wet again in the 450 class, if you will. So he's excited, and love hearing from those guys, and love talking about the situation of our new schedule. And basically, what I'd like to say to end this off is, be patient, everybody. We are out there working for you. I promise you that. Myself, Ryan Gauld, Kyle Thompson, Justin Thompson, the boys are behind the scenes trying to make sure we can get back racing as soon as possible. But we got to stay patient and follow along with our provincial guidelines, each and every one of them. And if you're mad at somebody, call your local MP and give them the breeze.
Exactly. Well said there, Gauldy. And yeah, like I said, working behind the scenes hard. Next week's show, we got the 2019 Triple Crown champion, GDR Honda rider, Dylan Wright. So I'm excited to interview him and chat with him to see what his big jump to the 450, Gauldy. I'm excited for that, and I can't wait for that first round, that first gate drop. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is another edition of InsideX.